Shabbat Shalom, everyone. In this week's Torah portion, we read how the people of Israel were called upon to build the tabernacle and the ark that will house the Ten Commandments. The antechambers of the tabernacle are also described as a sanctuary for God to dwell in. The construction includes specifications calling for various exotic materials, including gems, carved woods, luxurious fabrics, artistically woven curtains, and precious metals such as gold, silver, and copper. Tasked to our forebearers, the dimensions and measurements for construction are exact and specific. This is the first finite architectural description for our people and the first description of artistry, wood carving, gilding, and work with precious materials. In Exodus 36 of this week's Torah portion, we read of the chief artisan for these projects, Bezalel, and his artistic assistants. This week, our Torah portion is the bedrock for Jewish expressions in art, woodworking, architecture, and design. It may surprise many, but there is a deep-running tradition of our people with art, woodworking, architecture, and design. The verses from this week's Torah portion encapsulate the first iteration of these sciences, but it would not be our last. Eventually, the synagogues of ancient Israel would mirror the same thought that went into this week's Torah portion. Ancient synagogues, such as Dura Europos of Syria, during the Roman period were vibrant, full of life, and included zodiac symbols and human forms. Diaspora Judaism would eventually bear some awe-inspiring, beautiful synagogues, including the glorious wooden synagogues of Poland. Tragically, during the Holocaust, all of the wooden synagogues and arks were destroyed in Europe by 1945. Last year, I set upon the monumental task of rebuilding one of the great wooden arks from one of the perished wooden synagogues of Europe, and embarked upon the Opening the Ark project of Cincinnati. The Ark, now rebuilt and standing proudly inside of the Skirball Museum of Cincinnati, was one of the jewels of world Jewry. Towering and coated in vibrant colors, it stood in Sidra, Poland, but it was destroyed by the Nazis in 1942. With Polish, Sephardic, Ashkenazi, and Russian influences, it testified to a Jewish dialogue and to a Jewish mastery of art, artistry, and carpentry. Included on the ark are the motifs of this week's Torah portion, and the ark includes the Ten Commandments, the cherubim, gildings of precious metals, and an assumed figure of Moses. Embroidered in Hebrew above the opening that houses the Torah scrolls are the words from Exodus 25, verse 17, and translated read, "And you shall make an ark cover of pure gold. Ve'asita koperet zahav tahor." The ark from Poland has now been restored to the beautiful piece of art that it once was. The story of the ark's rebirth is fascinating, yet it is the story of a community of people that is most touching. The project was not financed, built, or envisioned by one person. There was aboard a team of volunteers and close to a dozen organizations that pitched into the project. Nevertheless, the details of the Opening the Ark project mirror the text in our Torah reading of this week. Imagine again the text from our Torah reading. Two aspects brought the ark and the tabernacle into tangible existence. First, material support was needed to drive the projects. The people of Israel donated in abundance the materials needed to construct the ark and the tabernacle, the Mishkan. They brought gold, silver, and copper, blue, purple, and red dyed wool, goat hair, spun linen, animal skins, wood, olive oil, and herbs, even precious stones for its construction. Second, there was community and leader-driven support for the projects. A team of priests serviced the ark and the tabernacle, the Mishkan, while another team of artisans would convene tasked with creating the blueprints for a community and of the projects. They participated in the monumental effort of our people to build the physical spaces of the ark and the tabernacle in harmony and tandem with one another. The project of creating the ark and the tabernacle was a monumental communal task for antiquity. It begot a sort of holy union between leadership teams and the community. Without the support of both, there would be no artisans, no gold, no silver, and no priests. There would be no ark and no tabernacle, no Mishkan for our people. So too, the opening the Ark project in Cincinnati necessitated a community leadership-centered holy union. Financial support was provided by several national and local Jewish and non-affiliated organizations, while the team of volunteers and skilled laborers spent day and night working on the various stages of the Ark's construction. For the community leadership team, the excitement was not merely generated around rebuilding a perished item. It was about a community of creating personal relationships. Everyone involved with the project felt an emotional bond, not chiefly to the Ark, but to each other. When I reached out to donors, I asked how they were managing with COVID-19. When they spoke with myself, they wanted to know how my family was doing. When Jonathan, who worked with me every day throughout the summer months, needed help moving into his new apartment, I set the time aside to help him with the moving process. Relationships were formed and bonded during the project. A community grew resting upon the same empathy, compassion, and dedication that pulled ourselves to rebuild a lost treasure for our people. Today, we sit apart from one another. Families have been separated, and many have not been able to see loved ones for quite some time. However, what is it that has brought us here together today? Is it merely the Ark? Is it a sanctuary? Is it a physical space? Clearly, as important as physical spaces are, our connections extend beyond the physical. The building of our community has drawn us to be with one another here today. It is the call of the love, unity, community, God, and spirituality of Judaism that glue us together. These qualities are needed today more than ever before. The experience of living under COVID-19 for a year now has accelerated many trends. We now, more than ever before, live in a world where we have developed speed, but we have quite literally shut ourselves in. Technology and the internet that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us often cynical, our cleverness often hard and unkind. We think too much today and feel too little. More than technology, now we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life may be violent and much may be lost. Zoom and YouTube has brought us closer here together today. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in humanity. It cries out for universal friendship, for the unity in us all. Even as we sit in different states, we are brought together in one room here today. Over the past year, it is easy to imagine that in the absence of human touch, many have been driven to brutality. Cruelty, violence, and desperation may thrive under such conditions. Poor leadership and greed can easily monopolize our desperation. It may manipulate and delegate us and turn our world into a power keg of violence. Nevertheless, we must remember we are not machines. We have the love of humanity and a community of good faith in our hearts. Building an ark and a tabernacle are holy not because of the physical space created, but because of the connections we build, of empathy, care, and devotion. Exodus 25, verse 17 states, "Ve'asita koperet zahav tahor," translated into English, "and you shall make an ark cover of pure gold." But as we've found out in our history, material wealth, arks, tabernacles, and so on, all rise up, but they are merely physical and not eternal. What may endure, however, is our faith, which raises not just buildings, but a community of love, compassion, and concern. These values have transcended and will continue to transcend the generations of our people and be our ark for future generations. L'dor vador. Can you hear us, son?